Hello everyone! It's so good to be back and doing some YouTube content. I'm Wardy, of course, and it's been a little while, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. First of all, I just want to say hello and welcome to everyone tuning in, because we've got something a bit different today in general as well. Today, we're going to be doing an AlphaStar replay. Now, just recently, the AlphaStar replays were released to the public as there was a paper in Nature published about AlphaStar and its progress. And so there's a bunch of replays, and obviously I know there's a lot of hype around these. This is my first chance to actually get to cast some of the legendary AlphaStar, which was playable against at BlizzCon as well, which was really cool. I know a lot of people tried that look, including Cyril, who didn't have such a great time. So it's been really cool to kind of follow the progress of this and get some updates. This is my first time casting an AlphaStar game. I hope you like it. In the bottom right, our blue Terran player is AlphaStar, and today the red Zerg in the top left-hand side will be a Grandmaster player. So all of the replays came just labeled as Grandmaster player or Master player or whatever, right? So we don't actually know who this is playing. We just know that they are in Grandmaster League. And obviously AlphaStar, it was noted that AlphaStar got to a point where it was able to get towards a very high MMR of 6,000 MMR or so and higher. So just very quickly before we go into more commentary, first of all, if you enjoy the video today, don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more YouTube stuff again, more on that in just 1 second. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Do you think the AI are going to overwhelm us? Are they going to take over? Or do you reckon humans can hold their own? Let me know. Always great to see those interactions. Just before we dive into the game, very quickly, I just want to say, obviously, I have been at BlizzCon, I have been on vacation, and when I came back from there, I was actually quite ill. I still am a little bit ill, but feeling a bit better, well enough to start doing some YouTube-only casts. So again, welcome back, and that's why it's just been a little longer than expected getting back on these. So what is AlphaStar? AlphaStar, if you guys don't know, is Google's Deepmind AI. It is trained from... It's not being told what to do, it's learned itself how to play StarCraft, which I think is the most impressive thing of all, right? Because as we set this up here, and as we get into this game number, well, we're only going to cast one game here today, but as we get into this game, you'll notice so far the, Terran's opening looks very regular, right? A Reaper expansion, a Marine before the factory, or Marine before the reactor, which is safe in case of a pull first, and ooh, does get surrounded there. AlphaStar's imperfect, guys. Our Grandmaster player is able to get the surround on the Reaper. That was cute. So obviously, the way AlphaStar learns is it goes and plays hundreds and hundreds and thousands of games, theoretically, and against other agents of AlphaStar to figure out how exactly it should play. And, slowly you can... The way they said is sometimes, they create certain, abusive kind of builds or abusive versions of AlphaStar, which are designed to come in and they're designed to kind of punish AlphaStar in a certain way again and again until it learns how to respond to that, and then against something else again and again. It's all about it just learning itself. Obviously there, it must have, it does some calculation in real time where it's like, do I chase this Zerg? And it's like, well, most of the time I can chase a low health Zerg and get a kill, so it's worthwhile. But obviously getting caught by the drone surround is something it wasn't expecting, so that's something which AlphaStar obviously got caught off there on an early in this game, is it goes for a very economic build. AlphaStar going to go into a 3cc, which is very common on King's Cove, by the way. Very macro-oriented map. So very common way to play this as the 3rd CC comes up. No second gas, starts stim nice and early while producing Hellions. It's kind of how you'd expect this to go. Has the Hellions out here to defend against these couple of Lings, and they will go down. Even running some Hellions spy across the map as our GM Zerg player will respond by pulling those drones. The Hellions darting around, gets another shot there, and will try and get that low health worker. And Hellions go down. So again, what's so impressive is just how realistic this looks, to me at least, right? Because when I look at this, I'm like, wow, that's actually what, we cast day in and day out on the channel here, right? Terran players trying to dive by a couple of Hellions, Terran players trying to do a bit of this, a bit of that. It's actually pretty crazy how similar it looks up until this point. Now, I could talk more and more about what I've learned about AlphaStar, but honestly, I think the Pylon show recently that was done at BlizzCon, which will be available on Artosis' YouTube channel, is probably a really good way of finding out more about it if you want to. And also the fact they've released the proper scientific papers. That's going to be a few more drones, by the way. These Hellions diving by as well. Gets a few more workers here. In fact, gets a lot more workers. That's a lot of drones going down. It's all about 13 workers here. So 13 workers down, that's a lot. Some good damage done there by AlphaStar. puts the Zerg into a bit of a tough spot. So I just want to quickly finish up and say again, obviously scientific papers have now been released on this. I'd highly urge you to go check those out and to read up more about it if you want. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments. But I'm not going to go through the entire process of what I've learned AlphaStar has done, because obviously I'm going to repeat things that are maybe not quite correct. And we're never going to get to cast the game, because I feel like I could talk about the process of this. I come from a scientific background myself. I have a master's in physics, so I've got a degree, and this sort of stuff really interests me. So trust me, I could talk about this for days. So instead we'll talk about the game and just sort of look at here and there. That's very interesting, building the supply depot in the mineral line. That's obviously not quite regular. So there are still these little things you see which are not quite optimal. A supply depot in a mineral line, though, mind you, think about it this way. So this isn't quite optimal typically, because a supply depot obviously blocks this area. But if you don't have enough SCVs here already to be able to kind of, be affected by that, you can then lower this depot, and this means that this depot, you didn't have to take an SCV very far away from mining to build it. So maybe, arguably, there's some sort of realism there where it's actually not that bad. Obviously, at some point you want to lower that depot. Right now it's blocking this SCV. Lings are going to continue fighting this. Marines do have stim now, and they will stim in, and Lings are going to be pushed away. Bunker salvage. It's a weird wall at the front as well with that engineering bay there, the starport. Interestingly enough, only a single engineering bay, and look at that, actually has queued +1 armor behind +1 attack, which is a little bit interesting as well. Obviously not quite the way you'd expect things to be done. So there are some differences here between kind of a regular kind of how a human would play and versus what AlphaStar is doing. I mean, queuing up that +1 armor is very weird, right? Because you'd expect AlphaStar to be able to think for itself that when +1 attack finishes, I'll just get +1 armor just like that. So that's very interesting. Again, I think what's important to learn is that, remember, is that none of this is human learned. It hasn't looked at, it started out with a few human replays, but it was never told what to do. It learned itself what was good to do. Which is, so again, it's very intriguing to see little things like this happening. There's a very typical wall off here at this frontal area, though, as Marines will stim forwards. They'll clean out that overlord. There is a few Marines in the front, so looking to try and clean out some creep spread a little bit, trying to pressure that back. I mean, they kind of dive in here, which is a bit of a weird maneuver as well. So those Marines will get picked off. And AlphaStar, with +1 attack finish, gets +1 armor started instantly. Starts an armor, and I guess might even start a second engineering bay to go into +2 attack. Single engineering bay upgrades are just very weird, as it's going to start dropping for an SCV in this, and AlphaStar up this right-hand side is looking to perhaps stim onto the creep a little bit. Hydralisk Den upgrading the groove spines right now, and a little bit of a bank at the moment for our GM Zerg. Probably because they're about to get, build a bit supply block. Once they get out of this supply block, might just be about to build a bunch of units as tanks here firing away. And actually, a lot of these SCVs in some trouble. So they're taking some hits. These two medevacs not really doing much either just yet. As we're going to be seeing, the defense is going to be good for the moment. A couple of medevacs around the top side. Hey, I tell you what, double armory is being built. This is very interesting. A second factory too. I mean, the second factory isn't too weird, because, you can go into double tanks at this point, but double armory definitely is, rather than going into a second engineering bay. Typically, the armory in this scenario is just a +2 attack upgrade and +2 armor, but now he's going double armory. AlphaStar, I'm not quite convinced. Infestation Pit dropping down in the main as well, so Zerg is looking to continue to tech on up from this Lingbane Hydra comp. Zergs love Lingbane Hydra on this map because of this very open space out in the center, so pushing forwards with Lingbane Hydra here, it's very easy. There's not a lot of tank positions that are super abusable. As AlphaStar will get a bit of a push going. Our Zerg player is still struggling with money a little bit. 1,000 minerals, 500 gas, still in the bank here. So you're going to see tanks firing, a couple of Balins going down. In fact, quite a lot of Balins going down. Another Hydra was picked off as well. These Hydras are move commanding. Now Zerg is making some serious mistakes right now, especially just in the money that's not being spent. A supply block from our Zerg player as well. As you will see, a couple of Marines in the background there getting picked off. So nice pick on this 4th base. Now Zerg might still be in some trouble as AlphaStar keeps pushing forwards, caught a bit off guard there. Has to lift up the Marines, but will lose all of the siege tanks. And so our Zerg player is able to capitalize a little bit off of what wasn't a great trade to begin with. Behind all of this, AlphaStar gets a 4th base. A planetary fort was starting. There's the double mech upgrades. I'm so surprised by this. The double mech upgrades. +2 attack, no +2 armor queued this time. The fact there's no second engineering bay is just astounding though, right? For how realistic the rest of the game looks so far, the lack of a second engineering bay is so weird to me. That's so interesting. As Hive about to finish up in this main base from our Zerg. A few Zerglings go darting down the right. Planetary Fortress is up and running in the center. To the left-hand side, some Marines are going to go darting in as well. They're going to look to clear off a bunch of this creep spread. And as that drop in the mains, those are the Marines he escaped with earlier. AlphaStar now using those to get some damage done and trade pretty okay against these Zerglings. One thing is the Zerg's 2-2 is pretty late to kind of come online as well, really. All things considered. Considering the Terran went +1 attack, then +1 armor. But there is Hive in play and Ultra's Cavern on the way. When you play Lingbane Hydra, you can oftentimes skip the Ultralisks because you don't typically, you don't always go melee upgrades. This time it was. But you don't always have to go Ultras because the Hydras can kind of keep you sustained. It's a bit of a beefier comp than like Lingbane Muta or Lingbane. So you can kind of sustain while you go into Broodlords. I don't mind the Ultras in this scenario though because our Zerg play is obviously quite far behind. And being quite far behind, it's going to be very difficult to get up to Broodlords, and I think you just die before then. The Ultras might just bring some breathing room for the Zerg play here, who's in quite some trouble. Hydra's able to pick off another medevac there at the front. And another mule dropping down from AlphaStar in this mineral line back over here. Viper on the way as well as Zerg trying to do what they can. They was just behind on economy from early, and well, there's AlphaStar losing a couple more medevacs again. Gonna go boosting that away over to this right-hand side. And trying to escape over there. Well, this thing's really cool as well, by the way. We can look at AlphaStar's first-person view here as well. Obviously, mouse movement or anything, but this is what AlphaStar's looking at. And this is one of the complaints about AlphaStar originally, was that it was not really very well... It was essentially working off of a zoomed-out map originally. So they changed it to work off of actual proper, looking around in kind of proper ways. As you can see here, just moving around, checking that drop, comes back over here, sees this army, decides that's not a good fight, backs away. It's not working off of perfect information, right? It is truly having a look, and when it sees an army's there, oh no, I have to back away from this. Anyway, I saw this, by the way, lifted up the factory from here, wanted to change the factory to a tech lab and build a reactor, a starport on the reactor, move the factory over here, because I guess it's just like, well, I'm out of space over here. The next logical place to build it is outside of my main base, which is still close. That's kind of funny as well. That's an amusing addition to the movements being made here. There's Marines unloading on this top side. Hey, Queen is going to be able to defend this. So the drop's being cleaned up, and I have to say AlphaStar's lost quite a few units. And one thing AlphaStar really isn't doing is scanning to get rid of this creep spread. So this creep has been somewhat undenied for quite a while, and that's one thing that might really just help our Zerg get a bit of a foothold back in this game. As AlphaStar finally added on a second engineering bay, is now going into +3 attack and +2 armor. By the way, this replay came from, I believe, the final version of AlphaStar, so this is being played at that kind of higher MMR level between 5.5 and 6.5k MMR-ish. I think 6.5 was a bit high, but it doesn't look like a 6.5k MMR game at all, right? It looks maybe more like, I'd say like 5.6, 5.7. Good macro. Definitely some micro mistakes here and there. But, players are pretty good at macro throughout. The Zerg definitely had some difficulties, but that's one of those scenarios where you get behind early and then you struggle to get the lava up, you lose your base, you don't have the production you need. See what happens here is the Zerg's going to make a push. Lingbane and Ultra going to press on forwards in towards this fourth base. Also going to send some units down to try and fight this base over here. This Planetary might be in some trouble. SCVs get wiped out. The Planetary gets wiped out. Drops a late blinding cloud to help this Ultra fight against a few more Marines, and honestly, it's a good trade for our Zerg player, as the Ultralisk will go down here. A little bit of army coming up here as well. This command side did not get lifted, as we're going to be seeing Vikings in a little bit of trouble as well. Lings and Banes still pressing through. Another Marine also getting picked away at. That is going to be the end of the Zerg attack. We cleaned out multiple bases of AlphaStar, and that goes a bit more in Zerg's favor. And again, that's the power of all of this creep spread. Gives them confidence on the map, has been able to clean up attacks easily. And now I feel like maybe before you could have argued maybe it wouldn't have been great attacking in here. Maybe you could have sat back and just built towards that great aspire. Anyways, obviously in this scenario the attack did work, as we do see a Banshee from AlphaStar on the way out on that stopper. So start adding Banshees here, which, because there's actually, I guess, not many Hydras left, may not be a terrible idea to help deal with the Ultras. Again, it's not your typical scenario, right? At this stage, you'd expect to see Liberator range, you'd expect to see Ghosts and Snipes going down. That's not the case at all. There is a good amount of Liberators, which is kind of what you'd expect for the Ultras. Honestly, Ghosts are not maybe as great here, because it is still a lot of Lingbane rather than movement towards Broodlords. So I don't mind the idea, but the Banshee is interesting rather than just getting, especially Liberator range. These Ultras going to run on in, and he can see the power of those Liberators. They really hold their own in this position. And it's obviously this one ultra that made it past the Liberators that's really causing the most issues at the moment. These tanks will be able to clean that up. And that is clean up on the Zerg side of things there. So at the same time, we still see AlphaStar having some trouble on the third base. Ling's getting in over here, and this orbital will lift up. A Banshee or so sent over to go and deal with that. I'm going to see a +1 Flyer Carapace upgrade coming in on the Spire as well. So building up into this here as Marines attack. A few Liberators setting up out the front. And the creep spread pushing all over the map actually still. It's just so purple, this map. It's crazy. And it's not like AlphaStar didn't have the opportunities to clean this up. It's just obviously not prioritized spending scans on creep and cleaning that creep up at all. Which again is very interesting, and I think that is very non-human-like. With some of the armies it's had on this creep spread, there's no way we'd see the creep like this. This is the sort of creep spread you see if the Zergs dominated the game the entire time, which the Zerg player hasn't. The Zerg player the last few minutes has done okay since cleaning out that fourth base and so on. But that's off the back of a few fights when AlphaStar was definitely leading earlier in the game. Marines grab a Zergling and... I don't know. Yeah, I guess that just burnt down there. It almost felt like the Marines shot down the supply depot too just at the time it died. A couple more Ultras on production tab, and so Zerg is continuing to try and stabilize here. Some Corruptors up in the skies. We're going to see a couple more tanks coming out, another Liberator in play. All of this getting set to go on the right side. It's a lot of Liberators, by the way. As Corruptors come up here, this is where, again, Ghosts become very nice because they can also snipe down Corruptors. As AlphaStar pulls the drop back towards its army. So decided not to go for it there. Corruptors, Lingsbane's Ultra. Heading out into the center. On the bottom side, we've got some Zerglings hanging around too. 17 minutes into King's Cove here. We really are hitting kind of late game, but it's a low eco late game, right? Players lost a lot of units earlier. We are going to be maxing out, but there's been a lot of trades this game. Resources lost, by the way, 22,500 each. It has just been that AlphaStar is mining that much less with less workers, and so the Zerg is going to have that little bit of a better time remaxing, etc. So that's the only real difference so far. Because those Banshees, yeah, turns out they're not so useful, right? I mean, they try and harass a little bit, but Spores, there's Corruptors. And the Corruptors will come over, and they will be able to clean that up as these Medifacts load up. They go over to the corner here. And we do just see +2 Flyer Carapace on the way out, plus, well, 4 more Vikings in production at Banshee, 2 more tanks, and a +3 vehicle plating upgrade on that armory as well. Unloading, and Lingbane Ultra going to go after those Medivacs, which start to unload again. A little bit more being done. Just trying to be annoying. I mean, dropping down into a Baneling is always worthwhile. If you can drop one Marine and get a Baneling for it, it's an efficient trade. Unfortunately, caught by Corruptors, this drop doesn't really achieve anything again. So AlphaStar has re-established 5 bases, has repositioned the main as one of its bases too. Like I say, it's so cool that it's figured out that that's the best way to kind of deal with that, right? Like, it's very impressive because that was an insta-kill on that CC, no cancel. I mean, there's a lot of CCs available. And it's doing, again, that as well. This is what Terrans would do at this stage of the game. In this sort of game as well, or at least in this kind of later stage of the game, definitely build up a lot of command centers, try and get to a point where you can deal with that. But here come the Corruptors, and again, these Liberators are just not going to do anything here. A few Vikings showing up, but the Corruptors, I think, are just going to overwhelm. And like I said before, there's just no real way to deal with those Corruptors yet. A few Vikings don't really get the job done. The Raven coming out, I mean, if you get an anti-armor missile on Corruptors and then you Liberators shoot, maybe you can do something. But the right-hand side base goes down. So that's another base that's going to be missing. Now, fortunately, there's this base here, but we'll actually have to go and clean up some of this creep spread to be able to get this base. So it needs to go over there and be able to do that. There's a few more Vikings on the way out. A Banshee being built as well. So Army Comp just going to, well, a bunch of tanks going to start sieging up here. Army of Zerg moving around back over to the left. There's the scan. So AlphaStar is capable of scanning to clean up that creep spread. It's not like it doesn't know about it. Now it actually has a Raven as well, though, and can clean up a bit more. Base can come over here and land. 5 more Liberators on the way up, by the way, as there we go. Command Center is going to land over there. A few Zerglings going to come in, and they're going to go for the pickup on this refinery, so they will be able to pick that off. And there you go, Lings, Ultras, and Corruptors going to continue forwards down towards this bottom right side. Another fight from our Zerg, and it could be deadly. The Zerg has such a huge bank behind us as well, I think, is one of the major issues. And again, AlphaStar's just very out of position all of the time because they can't keep track of where the Zerg is because there's so much creep spread, the Zerg just controls the map. I mean, these corruptors are going to clean out this air army, then they can come over here. Well, actually, I don't know what you're going to do about the tanks, actually. As AlphaStar loses a lot, though. He's just going to send these ultras down towards this mineral line. Bases are lifting up all over the place. And again, corruptors just continue to clean out a few more Vikings, etc. So Vikings keep on going down. This planetary fortress will be picked off as well. Another missile turret or two dropping. And it kind of feels as though as these corruptors are supposed to spray down this base, the SCVs are just a little bit late to repair. It feels as though our human player is going to fight off AlphaStar in this first ever game I've casted of AlphaStar. I know there's a lot of AlphaStar casts out there, guys. I do urge you to check more of them out, as we do have Zerg really just putting the finishing touches on this one. And do let me know as well, I guess, if you enjoy this series in the comments. You know, let me know if you want to see more AlphaStar casts, or if you're perhaps not really interested in them. It's interesting for me to know what I should be focusing on this next week or so in terms of YouTube content. Yeah, this game's kind of over. 36 more Zerglings, Banelings, sorry, morphing in from those Zerglings, and AlphaStar, one of the things they mentioned is it doesn't like to leave games while there is something of a chance of winning. And of course, if the Zerg player maybe move commands around a bit and messes up massively, the Terran player could still win this, but it's not feeling likely as AlphaStar has basically no income, right? This is the last couple bases here that are, it's actually the last two orbitals even now just flying around. Don't even know where this one is headed to. That's a question to still be answered. He's heading up here. Is he trying to use this base to scout almost? Is it? Oh, maybe it's thinking of like a base trade scenario? I don't know. I don't have an explanation for this orbital command just flying into the middle of the map. Zerglings, Banes, and Ultras are going to run in from the left-hand side. Tanks are firing. Bane's still rolling forwards as well, and again, AlphaStar does not really have anything else left to fight with. 15, 13, 11 supply. Trying to rebuild some units here, but obviously, there you go. It's going to get out of the game at some point, and it is going to be our Grandmaster Zerg able to take this down, and AlphaStar will be defeated in the first game we cast of it. So guys, like I said, let me know in the comments down below what you think. Let me know if you'd like to see more, if you kind of didn't think it was very interesting. Obviously, there's kind of replays of AlphaStar playing each race, so Terran, Zerg, and Protoss, which is really interesting. So we'll probably be kind of, if we do more, we'll probably do at least a few more, because there's not a lot of stream content to upload this week, so there'll be a lot of YouTube-only casts. And there's also not too many replays, so I'm probably going to be doing like at least a Zerg and a Protoss game. But if you guys really like it, we'll do a few more. Obviously going to mix in some real games as well. Well, I say real games, but some actual tournament gameplay too. So yeah, let me know. I'm always listening to your feedback, and let me know what you thought about this game. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed the cast. I was Wardy, and I'll see you guys again next time. Have a great rest of your day.